Good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Molnar here. Thank you for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. As always, I want to welcome all new subscribers, viewers to the channel, all existing viewers and subscribers. Thanks for sticking with me here. Seems like we've been talking about Lee for quite some time. And eventually, time's going to run out here where this system's going to plow to the north and eventually make a landfall. Unfortunately, it looks like at this point, chances of this going out to sea are dwindling. And the European's been bouncing back and forth between eastern New England, New Brunswick, and Nova Scotia. And Invest 97L behind Lee here. Could this be potentially forming into our next tropical storm? Could this be potentially Tropical Storm Nigel? Well, the European model is blowing this up, and unfortunately, towards the 20th, it's actually pushing it west. Let's get into it. And taking a look at the infrared satellite loop of Hurricane Lee, it's looking pretty impressive for the first time today. You can actually see the eye wall. The eye is actually visible. There is some dry air kind of impinging on the northern side of the system. You can get an idea of how large the system is. Now let's do a cross-section here, a side view. You can see there is that dry air trying to impinge on the northern side, but you see how consolidated the center core of it is. The ventilation and inflow and outflow is perfect, especially on the southern part of this hurricane. But yeah, this is a very large hurricane, and that's why I think it won't become a Category 4 again. Likely stay a Category 3, but its wind field will continue to grow. So here we go with the European model. And as you can see, the system's not likely to become a 4 again. 3, though, that is still very powerful. That's a major hurricane. The good news is it's going to be on a weakening trend. So, yeah, it's going to peak, 115 here over the next couple days. That's pretty much where it's at. 100 miles an hour, 90 mile per hour west of Bermuda. And as we head up towards eastern Canada and Maine, this is where it does weaken to, it looks like potentially an extratropical system or post-tropical. We'll have to see how this takes on, but you can see here, this is pretty interesting. Here is the trough. So the trough is literally funneling it straight northward here. So that's why I think anywhere from eastern Maine, Nova Scotia, but New Brunswick is right in the middle of all this. Here's two high-pressure systems, one to the west, one to the northeast, and the trough right in the middle, which helps this system continue to move due north. Unfortunately, as I said at the beginning of the video, this is not going to be a system that recurves. It's just not looking that way at this time. Unfortunately, we're going to have to face it, and it looks like as we continue to go in time, you can see here, this is the 16th, so this is, 4 days out here. Still 970 millibars. You can see the radius of the storm becomes bigger. So what's going to happen here? You're not completely out of the woods here in eastern Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Look at here into Cape Cod here. Maine, please keep an eye on this system. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia. You are all in the line of fire with this system because look how big the radius is. It does not matter that this is weakening to a Category 1. This system still got tremendous power with it. And as you can see, as we head towards 11 a.m. on the 16th, look how close the center of circulation is to Cape Cod. Let's just zoom in just a tad more here. And you can see there's some pretty big bands here on the western side. A lot of precipitation with this system, heavy rain, wind. Yeah, it's right here into just due east of Cape Cod by this point at 5 p.m. on the 16th. So we're looking at Saturday for landfall here. Now, the European has been trending just slightly west of guidance. But, the details are mute here because, look at it. It's got a massive center of circulation here. Everywhere from, central and eastern Maine, New Brunswick over here to St. John, all the way over here towards Nova Scotia, even as far east as Halifax, please. This is a big storm. It's going to be massive, and it's going to bring not only tremendous amount of coastal flooding, beach erosion waves, but inland freshwater flooding, as well as wind damage. This thing's got a massive wind field on it as well. So there it is, 986 millibars, 5 a.m. on the 17th. So it looks like landfall here on the European model is right in eastern Maine, New Brunswick. But watch what it starts to do. It starts to pivot just towards the east. So this, eastern center of circulation here starts to move into the Bay of Fundy here. So, yeah, this is going to be a major issue here as we get into New Brunswick. If this path, verifies here, which it's looking like we're converging here on New Brunswick, that continues towards the northeast as we head on the 17th and eventually the 18th up towards Newfoundland here. But yeah, lots of big impacts. Maine, Cape Cod, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, all these areas, and then eventually up to Newfoundland here. So please stay tuned. So getting into the GFS run here, let's see how this compares to the European model. It has, just like the European model, been all over the place with respect to each model run. Now, the GFS is closest here, at least through the 15th, on guidance. So as we continue here, you can see that there's that area high pressure and another area high pressure to the northeast here and to the west. So there's that trough helping pull Lee right up the base of this trough here and get funneled right up. And as you can see, the GFS is east of the European model here. So as you can see, landfall is further east, still a massive system bringing feeder bands all the way westward here into eastern New England. So just caution here to the wind. It is going to be a bad time of it here. So big effects. But look at it the last minute here. See how this is why I caution you about landfall, because the GFS at the last moment here pulls the system just west to the western tip of Nova Scotia and lines it right up with New Brunswick here. Look at that, bringing it right into St. John. That is the 16th at 11 p.m. So that's rather interesting here, because by 17th, 8 a.m., we're inland. Yeah, so this system eventually does start to, slow down initially and then start to accelerate again off towards Newfoundland there. So, yeah, and there's our next system. This is 97L. Look at that, becoming a massive hurricane by this point. So as we head towards the 19th, the 20th, the GFS is a lot more optimistic in keeping this high-pressure system a little bit more consolidated over North America here, and allowing the system to escape towards the northeast. Whether this saves Bermuda or not, that remains to be seen, but we got a couple different solutions here between the European and the GFS model. And let's see, was that our... No, we can actually go further here. It does kind of clip Newfoundland up here by the 22nd. We got plenty of time to watch that system, so don't panic as of yet. So our HWRF hurricane model, getting this in on the act. Let's see, right down the middle of guidance here by the 15th. Look at this, just to the west of Bermuda. Let's take that guidance. This is essentially future radar if you look at this. This is kind of nice. Hamilton, Bermuda getting the outer band here, so keep an eye out for that. Any wobbles east, you would get further impacts, but I'm not expecting the eye of the storm. But look how the HWRF hurricane model starts to take this a little bit east of guidance come the 15th, and then it kind of swings it back towards the west ever so slightly, very close to the GFS model. So this is curiously interesting, bringing it right into St. John again with this model. Yeah, that's quite an interesting scenario. New Brunswick, part of Nova Scotia, eastern Maine, you do seem to be ground zero for this. So here's the simulated infrared satellite here on our HWRF hurricane model. This is interesting to look at because it gives you an idea of how large the circulation is going to get and how extratropical it starts to look. Look at this. Yeah, once it gets past Bermuda, this thing's going to start to resemble more of an extratropical or even a nor'easter. This is kind of interesting. Look at this. This kind of puts things in perspective here. You start to lose those really high cloud tops, but you still have a very powerful circulation here that's more cold core as it transitions towards extratropical. But that doesn't really matter in the scheme of things because this is still going to resemble, that of a hurricane. At least a category 1 here. So that's something we definitely need to remain vigilant of. This is not your typical nor'easter. This is coming out of a hurricane by this point. So let's take a look at the wind field with the system as it heads north. You can see the strongest winds remain just west of Bermuda here on the 14th in the afternoon. It does kind of wobble a little bit, but you see those yellows and then those fuchsia colors staying to the west. You look at and see, this is what I was talking about, the wind field getting so much bigger with this system. Look at that, clipping parts of Cape Cod. This is why I'm a bit concerned. And then look at that, heading right up here into the Gulf of Maine. That's keeping, the really strong winds over here lining up with eastern Maine, especially New Brunswick and parts of southwestern Nova Scotia. Now watch this. I'm just going to put this into motion a few more frames. The core of the strongest winds takes it right over Yarmouth, further north here towards St. John. So that is going to be a problem right up into the Bay of Fundy here. That's where the strongest winds are going to funnel right up with this system. And thanks to Tropical Tidbits here for our dry air analysis. That's not going to be a problem with our big system here, Lee. And eventually it gets caught in that trough, bends just slightly to the west towards the 16th. You do see some dry air moving up well on the east side of the system. But by this point, it will be completing its extratropical phase, where a lot of the heaviest moisture is on the north and west and northwest side of the system. There's our next system, 97L, potentially Nigel. It does get surrounded a little bit by dry air, but that will be a thing of the past. Margot kind of getting, absorbed as well. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. It's going to do circles for days on end before heading back towards the Azores. There's our next potential hurricane. Yeah, 967 millibars towards September 21st. That looks right around where Lee's at. So definitely got to keep an eye on this. We don't want to see a repeat. And as you can see, Lee has peaked here in intensity, Category 3. From here on out, Category 2, eventually towards landfall here, Category 1 as we head towards 72 to 96 hours. Now as we get into the Western Caribbean here, Gulf of Mexico, there's Jamaica, Cayman Islands, pretty dry through this week. We get into the weekend, you get a few showers cropping up. Central America is getting, a little bit less than they normally do as well. Island of Hispaniola is racking up 30, 50 millimeters, about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. As we get into next week, this is where things get a little bit wetter here for the Cayman Islands, Jamaica. We get towards anywhere from, say, 20 to as much as 40 millimeters. That's going to bring us up towards about 1 inch to 2 inches. And then as we get into Friday, September 22nd, let's just bring that back there. You start to see these purplish colors. Yeah, you're getting up towards 45, 50 millimeters. So we'll get some rainfall here, anywhere from 1.5 inches close to 2 inches. Now, as we get into rainfall here in the Eastern Caribbean, Puerto Rico, yeah, you're going to get some outer bands here with this system as it's the flows coming out of the southwest. Look at from Trinidad, Tobago, all the way up to the Virgin Islands. There's nothing. You're going to be dry through the end of the week here. Maybe some showers moving through late weekend, but that's not going to amount to much. The big winners are going to be Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. You could get upwards of 60 millimeters, close to 2.5 2 3/4 inches. And Western Pacific side, I'm just shocked here. This Western Pacific just doesn't look very active. As we continue through the 16th, yeah, you got some big monsoon moisture heading into the Philippines here, especially the northern Philippines. But as we continue in time here, that clears out eventually for the 17th, the 18th. Look at even up here into parts of Japan, eastern China, all the way down through here. It just looks very dry for the most part. And I just don't see any tropical systems as we head through the third week of September. Enjoy. So as we take a look at our future radar, HRRR, let's see as we go into the overnight hours. And what do we have going on here? Showers and thunderstorms here across parts of the mid-Atlantic. They've been clearing out of the Ohio Valley here. But yeah, the big part is this trough digging in, and by 3 a.m., you start to look at eastern Pennsylvania here. You start to see some very heavy rain developing. This could be a problem. That's why flash flood watches are in effect for plenty of areas. Look at that in New Jersey as well. So yeah, from the I-81 corridor on eastward here to eastern Pennsylvania, eastern New York, this is going to be the thing. Showers and thunderstorms likely here. And yeah, this is going to become a major problem as we head here into parts of New England where we could have some flash flooding. So as we get into around, let's see, late morning, early afternoon on Wednesday, take a look at this. We still have some showers and storms forming once again over just east of Cleveland, Akron area. But look at this. We're still dealing with showers and thunderstorms here across eastern New York, eastern Pennsylvania, and we might get a few scattered showers and thunderstorms developing here across parts of the Ohio Valley, but they'll be very widely scattered. The big story is going to be in New England here, where we continue to see those showers and thunderstorms developing as we head throughout the overnight into the early morning hours of Thursday. Take a look at that. It actually starts to clear out with area of high pressure building in. But I just wanted to show you quickly here across Texas as we head through the 13th here, your Wednesday. Look at, we actually get some shower and thunderstorm action here. Some much needed rain coming to parts of Texas. Unfortunately, at first it targets areas towards the south central. You definitely need the rain as well. But watch this area here in the Panhandle. This is 1 a.m. on the 14th, Thursday morning. We have showers and thunderstorms really start to ignite here across eastern Texas, and this is going to be a very welcome sight. So here's your weather forecast. This includes Canada, by the way. So for all you Canadians who would like to see your forecast, here it is. This is the surface map. I'm including all of North America. So yeah, as we can see here, take a look. Yeah, as we head through the 14th and the 15th, we got an area of low pressure heading down through southern and central Canada here. And as you can see, let's just zoom in a bit, because, yeah, we got some inclement weather here into the western plains. We're actually going to see some rain here in north central Texas. Surprise, surprise, we don't see that. We haven't seen that in quite a while. But here's a low pressure winding up over parts of eastern Canada. Now, the big story, as you know, the one stealing the headlines is Lee here. So as we continue to go in time, look at that. Florida's nice and clear as well. As we go in time, all bets are off with Lee. So at this point, it looks like a landfall, especially affecting eastern Canada, eastern New England here. So we're going to continue to watch it here, but still have some time over the next 3 or 4 days. An area of low pressure does start to form on the backside of this trough, though, right around Montreal. So we're going to get some inclement weather across parts of eastern Canada here, especially Quebec and parts of southern Ontario. Big old area of low pressure here in the northern provinces here of north central Canada. So this is heading towards the 18th as we get into the 19th. That looks like a wintertime low up there, 982 millibars. That was pretty intense. But here across eastern Canada, well, let's grab our pencil here. As we head across eastern Canada, high pressure is building in. And we got this big old trough diving down from central Canada into the northern Rockies. That is going to be dealing an area of low pressure that starts to strengthen throughout the plains, from the U.S. plains into the Canadian plains here. And look at this. Now, this starts to develop into what looks like one of those springtime storms almost. A Colorado low this early in the season. This is kind of interesting. High pressure dominating here across eastern Canada and the eastern part of the United States. You do see a frontal boundary stalling off the U.S. East Coast here. We'll have to keep an eye on that for any tropical development. There's our next system, tropical system potentially off the screen here. And as we continue to go in time, look at this. It's staying very stormy from central Canada down through the central United States. High pressure here dominating the east with a massive ridge of high pressure. If you go out west, look at this big storm coming in from Alaska into western Canada. Valley rain, mountain snow. Yeah, and as we head through the third week of September here, this pattern seems to hold tough. And here's a quick word from my affiliate. Stay with me here. I've got plenty more weather right after this. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease, or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MeteoMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than trilogymaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. So total liquid equivalent precipitation as we head through the rest of the week into the weekend. You see New England, parts of New York, Pennsylvania, especially eastern New York, Pennsylvania getting clipped. Parts of Texas down here as well, getting some big gully washers. Those piling up there into Florida towards the end of the week and weekend. You get some showers and thunderstorms, especially in the afternoon. There's the rainfall with Lee. Yeah, Maine, Cape Cod, eastern Massachusetts, and Maine are really going to get clipped with this, it looks like. So watch out for some flash flooding, and then a tropical type disturbance kind of stalls here with a frontal boundary towards next week, towards the 20th, 21st, and 22nd off the Carolinas. So getting into the northeast here, doing our zoom in as we head through, there it is, Tuesday night and Wednesday. There is your rainfall totals. We're just going to stop it here momentarily. You see a 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch here from I-81 corridor eastward, eastern New York, eastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Long Island. Here into New England, from Long Island northeastward, you could end up getting an inch or inch and a quarter here, locally higher towards Maine. That's something you really don't need right now, especially before Lee, because look what happens come the weekend. This is Saturday. Look at the rain starts to come in Cape Cod, come right around noon, 1 p.m. Saturday, and then getting up into Maine. Look at that towards Saturday night and Sunday. The good news is it is going to remain in a kind of progressive flow, so it's not going to sit and stall. So you will see upwards of probably close to 6, 7, 8, 9 inches locally higher in some of these really bad bands that set up with Hurricane Lee. And I wanted to show you the rainfall here across Canada. It's mostly going to be confined to eastern Canada, as you can see here. Look at that. Yeah, it is measured in millimeters because, they actually use the metric system here. But as you can see, look at this. It's basically both coasts, the west coast of Canada and the east coast. Take a look at that. That's actually getting upwards of 150 millimeters. That's 4 to 8 inches of rainfall. Here into parts of southern Ontario and Quebec, you're getting anywhere from 60 to 90 millimeters. That is about 3.5 inches of rainfall. This is all the way through September 22nd. And I wanted to show you the rainfall here across Canada. It's mostly going to be confined to eastern Canada, as you can see here. Look at that. Yeah, it is measured in millimeters because, they actually use the metric system here. But as you can see, look at this. It's basically both coasts, the west coast of Canada and the east coast. Take a look at that. That's actually getting upwards of 150 millimeters. That's 4 to 8 inches of rainfall. Here into parts of southern Ontario and Quebec, you're getting anywhere from 60 to 90 millimeters. That is about 3.5 inches of rainfall. This is all the way through September 22nd. Now your temperature analysis here. Take a look at this. Yeah, this is kind of doing a double take here with the fall-like weather. Look at that, 60s, even some upper 50s here in the northern UP of Michigan. Even some 60s here to parts of New York State as we head on into Wednesday into Thursday. Look at this. That just reinforces that shot here of 60s into the northeast. Even Cleveland, Erie, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, all in the 60s. That's crazy. Look at here in North Texas. No more triple digits, 70s and lower 80s. Here even Florida, lower 90s. Enjoy that because it's not as sweltering. You see really what's going on here. That heat wave is really broken across the east. That heat dome that's been anchored over Texas is gone as we head through Friday into Saturday. Look at this. We get a little bit of a rebound into the northeast with lower 70s, but you really can't complain too much about that. That's not very hot. Look at this, Texas. You're really getting a break here. That's great. Finally. Even Florida, you're just hovering right around 90 degrees. You start to see evidence that things are getting a little warmer back towards Texas. But here's our next cool shot. Will this head across the lakes in the northeast behind Lee? Yeah, look what starts to happen. 60s right around the lakes, and then south of this red line, you see some 70s here. Looking nice. Extended outlook from hometown viewers, Binghamton to Scranton, Upper Susquehanna, River Valley of New York, and Pennsylvania. The big story is going to be initially the big rainfall Tuesday night into Wednesday, up to 3/4 of an inch, but there could be some localized flash flooding. Some areas getting up to 1 to 2 inch plus. Watch out for that. It will be ending by noon, so that's great news. We'll pull that out. 60s seem to be the rule Thursday and Friday as well. Sunny skies. Look at those overnight lows. 42 for a low Friday. That's great sleeping weather into Saturday morning as well. But look at that. We bounce towards the 70s by the weekend. As always, thanks for joining me for this edition of MeteoMark's Weather. Take a look at my Facebook page at MeteoMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Hurricane Northeastern to follow the tropics. And if you want to hop over to my Twitter page, it's at Weather Eastern. It's MeteoMark.com. Thanks for joining me. Question or comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification button so you're alerted when a video comes out.